LPL here live on Twitch. Of course, this is brought to you in part by Gosu Gamers and Games in Asia. My name is Rapid. I'm here with Nero, and we'll be your shoutcasters for tonight. I want to welcome you guys to the streams. You can see on your stream right now the standings. Currently a four-way tie for first place, and of course LGD sitting down there 1 point behind in fifth. And of course the teams that you guys will be seeing here today, a couple of matchups, two best of twos, and oh my gosh, is it gonna be great. It's going to be his first game, probably the most anticipated of the night, as it is a battle for first place. First true test of Starhorn Royal Club as they take on OMG. And of course the second best of two coming up your way is World Elite versus IG. So what do you think about these games, Nero? And are you possibly excited as I am? The answer, of course, is no, because I am ridiculous excited, and it's good to get this games underway.
I think that I'll have to beat you in that because Starhorn is my favorite team and I definitely want to see them owning OMG in the first matchup. So yeah, Starhorn, of course, it's so true about you saying this is their first test, the real test, because they played against World Lead in the previous week and they kind of won the first game in the end and lost the other one. And it's so weird to see both of the teams stomping one another in one best of two. It was really, really weird. So Starhorn, we don't really know if they are really good or if they are really bad because they got stumped by World Elite and they stumped World Elite. So
Yeah,
we'll see against OMG.
it's so weird too, because it's like, okay, you play the best team out there, World Elite, they've been in first place, they've been dominant in previous seasons, and it's so good to see them come back into favor. Like, World Elite are just monsters, and they're out there to crush some noobs, and I guess that can be said of all the first place teams. Like, World Elite's great, OMG, they were great last split, but maybe not quite up to their previous strength, although they are one of the best teams in LPL. And then, of course, Starhorn, I feel like this is really their big test for them tonight. They've been known to, like, when they get an early lead, like they did versus We, it was like, oh my goodness, these guys are just crushing everybody. Who can possibly stop them? But the question is, can they do that without the early lead? Can they, come back? And I think while it's the test of a good team to see if they can beat other good teams, it's the test of an even better team to see if they can actually come back from those big deficits and play toe to toe with the best teams out there. So I'm looking forward to it. I want to see Starhorn finally come out and be that big powerhouse everybody wants them to be. But I mean, OMG are just legends.
Yeah, so OMG is like on the way to back to the top. Like at the moment, they are kind of slowly stepping back into their former glory, to be honest. Because like in the playoffs, they got kind of beaten by other teams. Then in the tournament between the splits, they also kind of got beaten by EDG. So OMG right now they picked up Cole. They switched over to their support to the jungle, and now Cloud is on the support. So they are coming back, kind of slowly, but they are. And we'll see. This will definitely be a clash of titans right there, Starhorn versus OMG. Unless Starhorn really show up to be a weak team after all, because we can't really judge it until now. The positioning issues are there right now. They figured out their communication, but there's still some issues, and they're still really strong in other points. But the other matchup, World Lead versus Invictus Gaming, that is definitely going to be the most hyped up one. So what do you expect?
Well, for our second best of two, like you said, World Elite versus IG. Keep in mind, IG could be in first, or at least 1 point back, if they hadn't thrown two incredibly close games versus LGD. Coming into, I believe it was last week's LPL games, LGD faced off against Invictus, and IG had their Nexus down to half health, and they trolled in the base. They were just like walking around killing champions. They weren't focusing the Nexus, wound up losing that game, and then in a game two, LGD just passively drew the game out and wound up bringing it back in the end. So I don't know what to tell you tonight. I want to see I want to see IG do very well versus World Elite, but like, World Elite are top of the table. I mean, Wei Zhao is just like back, and almost the entire team is just better than ever. They've got some new blood, some new talent, and IG, they've switched things up, but not quite to the same degree. And so we'll have to see if they can maybe draw some points closer to first place, maybe take World Elite out of first place, depending on which team wins our first best of two between Starhorn and OMG.
Yeah, so if you look at the standings, you have LGD sitting at 7 points and IG sitting at 4. it was supposed to be the other way around, but well, yeah, as Rapid just said, LGD won the best of two series in the previous week. So, well, Invictus could have been looking to be in the first place right now, but actually they will just be struggling to go to the second right there.
All right, so yeah, like we said, we have two best of twos. The best thing that we're going to find out about tonight is there's a four-way tie for first place right now. Like you can see, 8 points apiece, but is who really is going to be standing on top. Now, granted, I believe it's EDG is not going to play today. They'll get a chance to play later on in the week, so we don't get to see exactly where they stand just yet, but it's going to be really cool to see which team, whether it is OMG or Starhorn, advance to that first place spot tonight. And for our second best of three series or best of two series for IG versus World Elite. I want to say IG's got a shot, but against at climbing in the standings and then pulling World Elite down a little bit, but WE have just been looking so good. One of the big things, at least points of inconsistency, has been Invictus Gaming. Their top laner just has not been kind of stepping up. He's got a little bit of a limited champion pool, played mostly Gragas, and when that was banned, he went to Jarvan. And while it did work, it just, I don't know, it wasn't as dominant as anything that you expected from IG's glory days back when they had PDD.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a lot up to Youngsu right there in the top lane. He's facing off Xiaomei, one of the best top laners in China, and he's such a good one and such an experienced one. He's been playing for such a really long time. You definitely know him from Season 2 World Championships when they faced off CLGU. Actually, unfortunately, they lost, but what a long game that was, about 8 or 9 hours. And then at the All-Stars, he's like the most popular player in China, and this guy definitely, well, Youngsu will have a lot to show in the matchup.
Yeah, and Yangsu, to be honest, he didn't let me down. Like I was really hyped up. Like this is the replacement for PDD. Yangsu came in, and while I haven't had a chance to watch his Gragas just yet, because nobody really lets that champion through against him, or kind of in general, it's just a very strong top lane pick right now. I wanted a chance to see that. I feel like that's probably his strongest champion. If he gets it, there's a lot of potential there. So it's really going to be up against the rest of the teams to maybe prioritize other bands and let that one through. Speaking of the Gragas pick, for it's going to be really good for, or really big for Starhorn, because their top laner actually has played Gragas, I think, the last 3 games in a row, as they just showed on the stream. So Gragas is big, but well, if you guys are keeping track of the Starhorn team, you can tell that there's a few other big champions, and one of those has been kind of polarizing for Insec. He's played some games of Lee Sin, but they have looked actually incredibly weak, whereas every game he's played with Rengar has just been monstrous, so expect to see that definitely banned out against Starhorn.
Yeah, definitely. And there's going to be a little bit of the jungle pressure in the bans, as you said. Well, Starhorn versus OMG, this is going to be a clash of bottom lanes. UZI versus San. Well, most probably San has been left out in the top lane, free farming for almost every game they have played in this split. So I expect the same thing to come out. The lane swap is going to come out from OMG most probably, and they will try to leave their AD carry to be free farming all game long. But the same thing can be expected from Starhorn. They have a dominant bottom lane, and they also want to get them fed. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of cheese in this game.
All right, you can see them on your stream right now, just going through individual team introductions. This is Uzi. You can see he's Lucian, Twitch. I would actually expect to see those AD carries change quite significantly when we transition between patches, but that's actually a good point to make. This will still be being played on the 4.9 patch. So that means there's no additional AD carry changes, there's no like Essence Reaver, there's no new Bloodthirster, and more importantly, there's no changes to champions like Skarner or Maokai or the tank jungle changes that just recently came in. So still patch 4.9, you still rush Bloodthirster first, and it's still kind of the era of superstars like Lucian and Twitch.
Yeah, so we'll see what these two AD carries will decide to go for, because actually in the previous week we have seen some crazy AD carry item builds, with Name bringing out the Boots of Mobility on the Twitch, and then I think it was the Hextech Gunblade he brought out on Lucian. So that is some really crazy item build, and well, these two AD carries right here, San and UZI, they are legends, so they can really come out with some surprising builds. So
Yeah, we
Cloud, the
could
new
try to
support.
highlight other roles or other lanes. And while they will be important, the bottom lane is, like you said, it's exactly where we're going to be looking. San and UZI. I almost want to expect maybe a lane swap here, just because when you put those two titans against one another, it's not like they just like split the lane 0-0. Like there's going to be so much action going down there. You can see San's stats right there. He's actually last game on Kog'Maw, so this is, keep in mind, a little bit ahead of the curve on Kog'Maw. I feel like 4.10 was really where he became really big, but I'm really excited to see that. And here we see their iconic mid laner, OMG. The guy that always looks so badass in all their promo videos. It's cool, and it's good to have him back on the team. And even though Jiang was still really good, it's pretty awesome to have Cool back and actually stepping his game up, picking quite a wide variety of champions. So we're just kind of like showing off all the players that you can see on the screen right now. It's Drug, of course, Drug, also known as Alan or Loveland. Of course, he was Loveland, then he changed to Alan, and there wasn't any love left there. Now he's Drug, which is actually more like medicine or like medicinal ointment kind of thing like that, if you want to translate it. But he went with Drug, so I'm going to go with that. And there is Going. The guy looks like a monster in real life, and he plays these champions. The Soraka, I don't know if we're going to be seeing that a lot, but the top lane Lulu, definitely something that he has really made a name for in the top lane.
Yeah, so as we have went through the introductions, we should be heading into the picks and bans quite soon, and that's where the magic begins. This matchup of the Titans, Starhorn versus OMG. This is going to decide who goes to the first place, unless World Lead win their second best of two series, of course. But yeah, this will definitely tighten up the standings, of course, for us, because we have 4 teams tie at the moment, and this will just get smaller by a little bit after today to 2 teams at most. And there we go, picks and bans coming out.
All right, so picks and bans, we expect a Rengar ban, keep in mind. So you can't let Insect grab that champion. I promise you, it's first pick for Starhorn if it gets through. And oh, there's actually a ban on Going's Lulu. We were just talking about that earlier. So this last ban for OMG has to be Rengar.
Unless they want to deal with Insect on this Rengar. Well, they are a really strong team. They may be confident in what they want to go for. But yeah, the first pick is for Starhorn. So Drug may want to pick up his Lee Sin. So we'll see. But of course, Insect is like a Lee Sin legend. So maybe he'll just not go for the Rengar and go for the Lee Sin himself.
Oh, and there's the Yasuo ban. So banning that away from Korn. I don't know about that. It's a first pick. I would have expected to be a Rengar. Like, you really just can't give that away to Insect, but might actually be the Thresh for 0, putting more focus on the bottom lane, knowing that that is going to be very significant considering the caliber of both of these dual lanes.
Yeah, and there's quite a few champions that got left out without a ban. Yeah, of course, this Gragas being one of them. Thresh, definitely one of the most contested picks in LPL overall. Throughout like 1 year right now, since he came out.
Okay, so if you look at the bans, it's almost entirely mid lane focused, with the exception of Braum and then Lulu, which was most likely banned against Going in the top lane. But with Going taking down that Gragas, it's a big pick away from Cola, because like I said, that's the champion he's played the last 3 games in a row. So Going got to pick a champion away from Cola, whereas Starhorn actually just banned Going's champion, that Lulu, away. So now it's up to Cola. What does he want to grab? Jax, a very strong scaling top laner. Might have some issues in the early 1 through 6, but we'll see how it works out. And actually, surprisingly enough, Insect gets his Rengar pick on the second trip through the pick phase. I would have expected that to almost even be grabbed away. Not that I've seen Drug do quite on the caliber that Insect has.
Yeah, so not much focus on the jungles. Like, the first jungler getting picked up at the second round of picks, and then there's no jungler ban. That's a little bit of a surprise with such titans in the jungle at the moment. So yeah, Lucian getting taken away from UZI. So what AD carry do we expect to see? Actually, after the 4.10 patches, I expect some new AD carries to come out right here, the new champions. I'd love to see Jinx finally being played like more often.
Well, if you remember, Jinx actually got popular in North America while Korea still wouldn't touch her because she wasn't mobile enough for them. And I think the same situation's actually true here. We saw her, I think, once last week, but I would expect. Oh, and there's the Twitch. Okay, so the Twitch kind of a mixed blessing and curse for UZI. Anytime you'll see, and this is common amongst a lot of Chinese AD carries on Twitch, they want to make those big assassination plays. So they go in stealth, they try to get them done, but the 1v3s, 1v4s that we've seen UZI run into, sometimes they don't necessarily work out. But with the lock in on the last pick, that's going to be the real unique one. Zero grabs the Orianna for Korn, and that means they're going for these big sort of insect jump in his Rengar into a shockwave, so much burst damage and a big team fight presence for Starhorn.
Yeah, okay, so Kola, generally speaking, I loved his Shyvana performance, but I kind of have to question his Jax performance. So we'll see if he can really come back, because this is Gogoing he's going to be facing in the top. He definitely has a lot to prove. So it's not just Yongsu versus Xiao, maybe also have Kola versus Gogoing, the newcomer versus the legend right here, and the Starhorn versus OMG. So a lot of things to look forward to in the top lane. Of course, the jungles are also the lanes that you want to see. Pretty much everyone is going to be really gigantic in this game.
I feel like you have to really feel for, I guess, Cool in this game, and I guess Corrin too, because there were so many mid lane bans that they really got hit by the ban phase, but there's a much larger champion pool for the mid lane. Whereas if you look at the rest of the picks, I almost feel like there weren't a whole lot of bans for the rest of the team. It's pretty much dream composition for Starhorn. They got almost every single player on a champion that they are very well known for. Whereas on OMG, I feel like sure they've got strong picks. The Gragas especially for going. That's going to be big, but at the same time, not quite on the same calibers. Like you have Insec on Rengar. Like I expected that to be first pick. Also, you can't count out Korean bottom lane. Zero's got his Thresh, and after watching him play last week, hopefully that was enough to convince you. And if it wasn't, well, you'll get to see it again.
Yeah, but also we have seen the support of LGD, PYL playing awesome Thrashes, and then kind of disappointing us in the previous week. So the performance may change right here, but let's stay at the best hopes to see the best matches today, because these teams that are facing each other are really the top-notch teams. It's the top of the table today, and we'll see a lot of action.
And you can just see the table here, once again reminding you guys of the standings. It's going to be a battle, best of two. We'll be having an incredible matchup between Starhorn, and we'll be taking on OMG. So let's go ahead and get into the game. You can see both teams starting out there, of course. OMG, they'll be your team in the red on the right-hand side of your screen. They'll be taking on Starhorn Royal Club. They are your team in the blue on the left.
Okay, so they're kicking off, and I'm actually curious if we'll see the aggressive kind of start in the jungle, because, you know, Insec is such an aggressive guy, and we have seen some crazy things going on with him involved in that during the split already.
All right, Drug gets first blood. He decides to drop the standard onto Korn. So if he wants to start with another skill, he can't, but honestly, that would be like a Mumu starting Bandage Toss. So Insect's already going to get some nice early damage down onto Cloud, and you'll actually notice he started with the red trinket, so already able to clear out that early trinket ward.
A really good double jump right there, taking a little bit of help, but everyone is getting a little bit of poke right here all around the map. Uzia has to back away. Actually, and he burned his flash. Look at that.
Yeah, we didn't even catch that action down there, so that's going to be a big pick onto UZI. He loses his flash early on, has to back, that takes presence off the map, but it's not like there's any crazy early invades going on, so overall, the big difference, of course, will be the lack of that early flash. And that the only way that flash will actually matter being gone is if there is either an early aggressive trade in lane or on the about 3-minute jungle gank timer that you can see when Drug finally finishes off his blue buff, and may head bottom, but bottom usually a little bit heavier warded, so probably we'll look for either an aggressive trip through the jungle or some pressure on to mid. Red buff starts for both junglers, though, mean that they will be asynchronous in their jungle paths, so we'll be kind of interacting differently. And already you can see the lane swap starting off for both teams.
Yeah, so I said that OMG will be looking for a lane swap themselves, and you could have seen them running back and forth in the jungle, actually not kind of decisive in where they want to go. They chose this bottom lane, they chose right, and we have this lane swap coming out from Starhorn, actually. I'm quite sure that they expected to mid Sun and Cloud right there.
For the mid lane matchup that you can see on your screen right now, it probably shouldn't be too aggressive. Both of these guys are just going to be farming monsters, and unless the jungle pressure changes things in mid lane, and it really shouldn't since both of them are busy double jungling with their solo laners, it'll probably just be a farm fest mid, which means that it really will be up to either the AD carry rotations, which turrets go down first, possibly even that sort of double jungle kind of strategy. You know, I remember back in like season 2, season 3, people like laughed at double jungle. They're just like, the strategy will never work. It's bad. Nobody's ever going to do it. And while in those situations both players had smite, you do see double jungle, and it's very, very popular. And this time it's actually going to be going and drug. They're hunting. They're just going through the enemy jungle. They want to pick a fight, but they can't find it.
Yeah, they're just waiting right there, walking around the brushes. And well, there's no one around this place in the map, so most probably the turrets will be going down really quickly. And we'll look at that. Cola will be headed into the bottom lane, so we'll see if he gets caught right there.
Now, solo laners, Insect actually is forced to flash out of his own jungle, and that's exactly what OMG, they've been waiting in that lower jungle for the last like 2 or 3 minutes, just waiting for Insect to try to show up there. They finally find him, he is forced to flash away, and he actually recalls to base. Instead of just going to his top jungle, since that'd put him too far out of position. But now, Cola's got to see this coming. It's like, Insect, he just got ganked out there, forced to blow his flash. The tiniest ward hop of his life, and Cola is actually going to flash away. No turret dive here because it is still level 2, level 3. So Cola makes it out alive, but 4-man pressure. Bottom half of the map for OMG.
Yeah, so I expected the kill to come out right there. It's really good for Cola to run away, because they don't lose the first blood. They don't fall behind in the early game as of yet. But there's so much pressure from OMG in the bottom lane. But it's going to be Starhorn who get the first turret of the game. That is actually a little bit of a surprise for us. Well, of course, 4-man pressure versus 2-man pressure. Everyone knows which one should win.
Well, we talked about Starhorn and how off of early advantages, they are able to snowball incredibly quickly. OMG, they aren't really laning, and this is something you'll see out of a lot of LPL teams, but OMG and I guess LGD specifically, they break the laning phase very, very early. They go for these big roams, these big super ganks, and then they'll try to come back off of a little bit of an experience deficit by doing things like this very early dragon, but they're not actually dropping aggro on it. They're just taking all that damage, so they're going to drop pretty low, and the majority of them actually forced back to base. So sure, they get an early dragon. It's not worth all that much gold. That change happens in subsequent patches. So I guess that's going to get them back into the experience game from having lost out on a large part of their laning phase. But the question is, did all that pressure on the lower half of the map really get OMG what they wanted?
I think that it's okay for them. Starhorn, of course, they got the turret in the top lane, but OMG took the dragon uncontested. That's the most important thing, because they could have taken down the turret first and then gone for the dragon, but then there was the risk that Starhorn will be there to try and steal the dragon, to try and damage them, so they could have died. That was a really, really safe dragon for them. Of course, it's worth it, and OMG is going to, once again, create a lot of pressure in the bottom lane and maybe take down the turret right now.
All right, so 2 big things to notice. We do have the duo lanes finally up against each other. Of course, that means solos are up against each other too. And Cola, he's sitting at 10 CS and only, that Doran's item and Flask, whereas it's double Doran's for going, so you can see him with a little bit more presence in lane. And of course, the sustained advantage there for Cola. Dragon's down, so TP shouldn't be used too aggressively, and it's kind of business as usual. First 6.5 minutes of the game, they're off the record books, and here we are with finally a normal laning phase.
Yeah, there's still the jungler pressure yet to be seen. I also want to see Insect going for some crazy ganks, and well, the Death Sentence misses. That was a good opportunity.
Oh, but there's actually the engage. We've got Cloud in a not so great position. Insect's going to get exhausted, but he will get jumped in on there. Here's the teleport coming down as Goings tries to get down there. A little bit of a late teleport for Cola, but overall, actually Cola not TPing all the way down there. And that actually means that UCI is going to go down. Insect now in not the place he wants to go. And Cola didn't teleport. Now Zero's actually going to be forced to flash underneath his turret. Gets the death sentence onto Drug. Actually, Drug's going to die to the turret shot. So it's a nice pick there by Zero. Gets the flay back in. And San might actually die. No, he's barely alive. 2 HP. San gets away. Going gets away. And it is a 1-for-1 exchange. Zero, of course, trading for Drug.
2 for 1 in the end. But actually, it could have been such a good thing for Starhorn if Zero just pulled off this one more kill underneath the turret. But it would have been so good. Like 1 health left on San.
Zero got robbed there. Like, I don't know what San was doing. He just kind of reached into his piggy bank, took all the money. And, of course, Zero was a little bit unfortunate there. Did trade 1 for 1, so, I mean, there's only so much you can do as a support player. But once again, Zero on his Thresh. Another big trademark champion for Starhorn. Although they are down in kills 1-3. But they did take the first turret of the game, so it's been evened up. We'll see if they can take the second one as well. But it's going to take them a little bit longer, of course, due to those 2v1s.
Okay, so in the end, OMG, as I said, they took the early safe dragon and now they went for the third. As simple as that. But UZI once again pulling off the UZI play. When there was the teleport coming from the top lane from OMG and Lucian was like still damaging them all the time, UZI just went in to try and kill the support, to try and kill the Leona. Didn't pull it off, then paid with his life because Gogoing was on top of them with the body slam.
Okay, now Going just did something very, very significant. What he did was he tanked up the wave and then drew them so that they focused on a single point. It's Korean hard freeze, and it's going to stay there for a very long time. But while he's going to be top lane without a teleport, look at what Starhorn are about to do. They are so grouped up around the mid. 3-man presence there, and you're going to see Zero start to rotate a little bit ahead of schedule. A huge shockwave there on a Cool. He's forced to flash out there. Very, very low, but a perfect satchel charge. Bounces Cola back. There's a Mega Inferno Bomb. Chunks out Insect. He is out of the fight, but a massive satchel charge from Cool is just completely changing the course of that fight.
Yeah, but it also was a really good engage from Starhorn, but they didn't actually have the hard CC that was coming with the Jax, but then the satchel charge just stopped them completely.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, middle turret will go down off of a little bit too much poke and pressure from OMG. Insect getting chunked out there was a really big deal. So keep in mind, he's also not a presence with his ult anymore. So that's going to take that pressure off of the map. UZI, he stayed bottom lane. He's just like, look, I'm going to be down here getting some CS. And you can see that reflected, a 20 CS advantage over San. So it's turrets versus individual strength. UZI is going to be pretty strong, but once again, he's missing the BF sword buy that San got. So that is a big, big difference in power between AD carries, even though there's a little bit more CS on UZI.
Yeah, so Starhorn lost the kills, but they are still carrying on. They have at least the courage to go for the engages, because right there with Insect diving in onto this huge sun was a little bit of a risk. And actually none of them died, none of them got killed. And they didn't actually grab a kill, so Starhorn should be looking for some picks right now. They should be waiting for the dragon actually, in my opinion, because OMG will be looking for that. So Starhorn want to go for a contest right there, because they can't really all out push the turrets. They're gonna get crushed by, once again, Gogoing's teleport when it comes up, and it is going soon.
Yep, now we have 2 big cooldowns coming up. You've got Red Buff and Dragon about to respawn down there on the bottom half of the map. And this is a place that OMG has just really set up shop. They've got their house. It's not in the middle of the street. It's in the middle of the bottom half of the map. And there you can see OMG, perfect positioning, right on time. 3, 2, 1, and there is the Dragon. OMG will take this one down pretty uncontested unless Zero's got some highly damaging Thresh hooks. It's going to go down to OMG. 2 dragons in a row now ahead of Starhorn, and really just global objectives all over the place going their way.
Yeah, Ansek was definitely out of position right there, but they didn't have the exact timer. So I'm not quite sure what Starhorn want to go for right now. Cola, I'm sorry, he still didn't use his teleport, and that's his biggest issue, in my opinion, that I have seen in his previous games. There were really times where he could have made a big difference in the team fights, but he was just staying at the top lane and not being useful for his team. For example, in the Demacian Cup where they played against Young Glory, they still managed to win against Young Glory, but well, against OMG, this is definitely going to get punished. And you have seen OMG just getting 3 kills in the bottom lane back then when Cola didn't use his teleport.
All right, a little bit more volume there so we can hear a little bit more of the hype. But what's been interesting to me, for me at least, to see so far has been kind of the contrast in AD carries. Whereas UZI's sacrifice presence out there on the map, it's really been San the one to be getting into the fights, getting the kills. And you can see that reflected in the itemization. A completed Bloodthirster means that is a big power spike. But oh, top lane Cole is gonna get slammed against the wall. Drug's got the knockup. There is the blocking, and oh, San's in a little bit of trouble, but it's 4 people top, and there's only so much Cola can do. There's the stun from Cloud to take him down, and perfect turret tank trading up top lane will get OMG, their 3rd turret of the game.
And well, everyone was running around and no one actually wanted to get the kill onto Cola, so they gave it away to support. Kind of weird, but look at that. Once again, Cloud is roaming, and he may be there to take UZI down in the middle. He has the Solar Flare and the Flash. He can go for some crazy jump in.
Oh, and there's the lantern. You could see UZI was trying to bait a little bit for the solar flare, but I don't think anybody was fooled there. Cloud knew what was up, and UZI still alive. He hasn't been getting in there with too many of those Twitch assassination plays. Of course, that really mainly comes once he completes that Blade of the Ruined King. And even though we're a little bit ahead of schedule there, Twitch should be going for the Youmu's next. At least that's the style that UZI likes to play, and we'll see if he still goes for that as he finally picks up enough gold after his blade.
2 kills and 2 assists on San. So I said these are going to be the Titan AD carries facing off. And UZI actually failed by a little bit with his own greediness, because he could have stayed alive throughout the fight in the bottom lane, but he went for the support. Once again, I'm going to point it out as many times as possible, because UZI is doing it every single time, every single game we see him play. He's going for the aggressive plays, like pushing out into the whole team of his enemies and going down, or sometimes running away, but he needs to work on that. It's the positioning that is killing him at the moment, because he definitely is a superior AD carry with the mechanical skills, but he doesn't really have the positioning.
Well, you have to keep in mind, when you pick a Twitch, you're not picking like a siege composition. You're picking a we will wombo combo into you and Twitch will spray and pray for days. So when you look at OMG, they do have a very good poke composition. You've got tons of disengage, a lot of flexibility, and the poke from Ziggs and Lucian should be very good at poking down turrets. You saw them already do it, taking down the mid lane turret earlier. So really what you need is you need Twitch, you need UZI, get that Blade of the Ruined King, come in for some stealth right on top of a huge engage from Insec with the command shockwave on top of it from Korn. That's what Starhorn are looking for. But OMG, they're just pushing them off the turret. Solar Flare will miss though. But is there enough wave clear here to keep this turret healthy? Sources say no, but there's a huge command shockwave onto OMG. More than anything, it just pushes them off that turret, but I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, the OMG, even though they got caught with a 3-man shockwave, there still was enough slow and CC and everything to stop Insect from engaging. He was their stealth, but he was so slowed down that he couldn't actually jump on anyone right there. So it's just the shockwave. It didn't deal too much damage because this Orianna didn't get anything. Any kills, not really great in farm. And still...
Oh, but a huge ult there by Drug. He gets everyone, and there's the Mega Inferno Bomb on top of it. It's ultimately only enough to kill down Korn. It's a 2-for-1, though. OMG actually over-diving a little bit. Now, Going's going to actually dive even deeper. UZI trying to get away in time. A 2-for-1 off of a perfect ult there by Drug. I think he deserved a little bit more than that, but an excellent job by Zero. Perfect peel, and ultimately a team fight win for Starhorn, but they do lose their 2nd-tier mid turret.
Yeah, and it still was the engage coming out from OMG, and I haven't really seen a perfect death sentence hitting. And just look at that, UZI is chasing San.
Oh, San. I think UZI is going to win this out there. San, of course, flashing back to the safety of his turret, and UZI can't follow. That turret's still very high in HP. Zero actually almost dying. One more turret shot would have been enough to pick him off, and oh, Cool's coming down. As he got that Mega Inferno Bomb, looking to throw it out there. He's waiting to see exactly where Zero is, but he's going to keep that cool down in his pocket.
Yeah, he has a blue buff, so he could have thrown it out anyway, just to scout out. But here we have the replay of the previous fight. Yeah, once again the death sentence misses, and then there was the solar flare, and the death sentence once again missed. So
And then just drug massive Inferno Bomb right on top of the Cataclysm. That's about as picture perfect as it gets, but you can see just a little bit too overextended. And UZI flanking in there from the side, just beautiful positioning. And as soon as he gets focused, you can see the crowd quite impressed, especially that guy in the middle. So UZI, he had great positioning that fight. And oh, now we got a dunk down in the bottom lane as well. Can he click the lantern? No, I think he actually did get it, but it was not in time. Zero trying to save his carry, but UZI will fall. And that means that somewhat anticlimactically, OMG will take down their 5th turret of the game. Just, oh, Solar Flare down onto Korn. You've got Insects Rengar coming in from behind. Turret's still up, but once again, a huge slow there. Big ult there. Insect actually going to jump into the middle of everything. He goes down instantaneously, and there's just not enough damage here from Starhorn. OMG's just going to blow them apart. You've got Cool coming in for the flank. A perfect satchel charge into the minefield, and OMG making him say our name as take down the 4th turret of the game and 4 champions along with it.
okay, so actually everyone said that Starhorn is going to have problems with communication because the Koreans and the Chinese, but it doesn't seem like problems with communication, but problems with synchronizing themselves. You could have seen Cola jumping in and stunning everyone up, then Insect jumping in after the stun is ended, and then right after that he got the ball into the shockwave, but not when he was jumping in. He didn't have the ball during the jump, and well, everyone just doing everything a second too late. That's what led them to losing the fight. And look at that, OMG just taking everything that they want. The inhibitor turret goes down. They will have everything open for themselves, and well, it's not even time for Baron. It's 19th minute as of yet.
Okay, Drug was trying to do his standard combo over the wall, but I think he actually ran out of mana for it, just now having enough for that standard, so I had to walk around that Dragon Pit, but I don't think it'll be too big of an issue for OMG. They've had perfect objective control all game long. They lost the first turret due to putting so much pressure on that bottom half of the map, but you can really see that paying off. While it didn't necessarily get them any big objectives early, it did get San snowball rolling, and more importantly, you can see going, he's not even building damage. He is full tank Gragas right now. Frozen Heart into Spirit Visage. It's all CDR all the time. He's just looking to set Drug up for some big fights.
Okay, so someone asked in the chat in which language Insect is communicating with the team. At the moment, we don't really know, but when he joined the team, everyone was clear about that in the interviews. They had problems with him communicating. Like,
I believe
he
he
had no
actually
communication
communicates in English, which everybody kind of knows, but he doesn't know Chinese, so that is, like you said, a big difference. But more importantly, the bigger difference for me is Zero down in the bottom lane. Like, UZI is used to having the best in supports, and bringing in Zero is a big change for that duo lane. There's a language barrier, there's communication issues, and by and large, Starhorns looked good enough, like we said, to get these 8 points, first place. But against OMG, at least in this game, they do seem a little bit uncoordinated.
okay, so 7 kills difference at the moment. That is a little bit crushing, and well, if not that, then the 5 turrets different. That actually is a really huge gap in gold for Starhorn to close out, and look at that. As I said, it's not really time for Baron just yet, but OMG, they don't even hesitate to go for this one. They have the vision control, they have the turrets, so Will Starhorn can't even come out of their base. They will be kicking this one off, and look at that, it goes down really quickly.
Yeah, I don't think there's even anybody
team.
anywhere near that. It was pretty much just OMG, objective control across the board. I actually think that Starhorn have decent word coverage in order to scout all of this out. They know what's going on, but they really cannot do anything about it. So at this point, if you're Starhorn, you're basically putting all your eggs in this next basket. Either you find a pick and can stall things out a little bit further, or you get the perfect wombo combo. Cola jumps in with his AoE stun, then you get just area of effect on top of everything, but at this point I don't think Starhorn have the damage.
Yeah, so Starhorn, even if they wanted to go for a contest somewhere, they can't really pull it off, and once again, if they want to go for a fight right here, they need to be synchronized perfectly. This can't be the fight that happened in the bottom lane. If something goes off,
Death
well,
sentence
finally.
there on Cloud, but I don't think that's the person you want to be grabbing. top tier base turret. There's the ball. It's in position. Drug down to half health. They'll have to stay towards the back as Korn tries to zone in from the side, but just look at the pressure that San's exerting in the backline. There's Rengar going in. He's going to get that command shockwave ult any second now, but oh, it's just not enough. Where's the damage? Answer is, of course, in OMG's hands. Immediately Drug flashing out after he gets ignited, but you can't go anywhere. Insect, you're stuck in the Cataclysm, and he will fall there. Of course, lucky escape there by Korn, just narrowly able to make it back out, but with going as tanky as he is, he just doesn't care. He's up there in the front lines. Even Drug went in, even though he did flash out again, and with the back line untouched, it's OMG. We'll be looking to close things out.
Yeah, so nothing can be off by even a split second, and it actually was by a little bit because there was no follow-up from Cola and from UZI for the damage. There was the...
Oh my god, just the dive again. Cola's lucky to make it back to the fountain, but OMG are just gonna throw their bombs out, wait for the Nexus turrets to go down. There's the epic duel between UZI and San. Not quite as epic as I would have expected, but with the Nexus turrets falling and nobody from Starhorn really there to contest. There's the perfect ult onto UZI, and going blows him off the fountain. And there's one more kill on the 80 carry. So nice pick there onto UZI, and finally OMG will take down the Nexus. And flash out there immediately. There's the command shockwave. It's not enough to pick up any kills just yet, but there's the Nexus falling, and it will be OMG who take a dominant 15-3 game 1 victory.
Yeah, so Starhorn's really far behind, and OMG was playing with them on the fountain, but we have seen the exact same thing in the games in the previous week when IG was playing with LGD in the base, and they actually ended up losing this game after leaving Nexus at below half of its health. So it was a risky play, but of course, Starhorn couldn't have done anything. They got, I think, 1 kill, but that's it. And even facing his Dev Zero right there on the fountain misses another Death Sentence. I think that overall, he hit like about 2 in the whole game. So, well, everyone knows that, well, Korean and Chinese players are really good mechanically, and we expected a lot seeing this Thresh coming into play. But once again, as PYL, I was so excited to see that Thresh come out on this specific player, but he once again fails it.
Well, and even though these standings haven't opened up just yet, that is going to be OMG. With 1 win, they'll get at least 1 point. And that means that they can actually get further up in the standings. So technically they're in first place with 1 win. If they do pick up their second win here versus Starhorn, that'll actually catapult them into 3 points ahead of first place. And at that point, only World Elite will be able to catch them tonight if they 2-0 IG. And while I'm not expecting that to be very likely, we've seen IG pull off crazy comebacks and equally crazy losses after being very far ahead. So we'll have to keep an eye on everything. And I want to say game 2, when it comes up, it's going to come down to that bottom lane. It was just UZI never got the opportunity to snowball. He was always behind, even though he got some very good CS. It was just the kills that came the way of San, and just overall better teamwork. OMG sacrificed their laning phase so hard to just sit in the bottom lane jungle, and it wound up paying off and wound up giving them their the first few early objective leads.
So we'll be heading into a little break right now. So grab some snacks and drinks and be back in about 5 minutes, because I think that it will be a short one right now. So the next upcoming, the second game of the best of 2 between OMG and Starhorn Royal Club.
Hello， 大家好，我是若风。现在我们在浦东机场，马上就要出发法国巴黎了。然后现在像我后面的话就是 OMG 的队员，然后这边草莓跟威少也是到了。现在草莓也是出了镜，带完手机啊，不用管他了。 我也是为了当这个记者，这个第一次当记者，也是请大家见谅，希望大家能够理解。